Photo kids, your next project is Symbolism Selfies. Here are your requirements. You're going to have to make 4. You must have yourself in them somewhere, somehow. Must show symbolism or surrealism is also fine. And look for artists like Frida Kahlo, Salvador Dali, and Izumi Miyazaki. Okay, I'm going to show you different examples of each on here. Some quotes that I found that help. In symbolic self-portraits, photographers visually project their feelings, ideas, interests, memories, or personality traits into these objects and scenes. They see them as visually representing something important about their identities. At the very least, what separates photographers who do symbolic self-portraits from those who don't is their ability to think about themselves abstractly, conceptually, or by association. They create an image in which this object, scene, or person is related to or stands for something about me. They have the ability to identify with the other, to psychologically invest the self in the other. A photo is a symbolic self-portrait when the photographer can say, "This is me." Your rubric requires selfie showing yourself in the photo somewhere, editing with at least 2 photos together with some sort of overlay, working with conceptual as well as symbolic for you as an artist. This could include surrealism, student work, creating the work neatly, and then creating 4 in Photopea or another applicable app, because I know your phones probably also have things like that where you can do that. Okay, so those are the main things. Now, this is artist Izumi Miyazaki. As you can see, hers are very symbolic and very interesting and very thought-provoking. And she's known for doing these type of self-portraits. They're very surrealist, and they make you question what's going on in each of them as well. Okay, so a lot of these were either done with Photoshop because she had to manipulate and take multiple pictures, or especially like this one because this reminds me of Sia a little bit. Or she's like setting everything up and then using a timer. Some other self-portraits are like Frida Kahlo. She's another great one. Frida has very much like done so many self-paintings. I know it's not photography, but I know the paintings is still of her. A lot of them represented things that were going on in her life, very tragic times. You can Google surrealism. You have this example right here with Salvador Dali. On these ones, this is Rene Magritte. There's 2 other artists that you can look at. And then I found some student work online too from other artists. This is an example of overlays, which I'll show you in just a second. Okay, combining 2 pictures into one thing, and also like thinking about the layout of something and thinking about the mood too. Now in PhotoPay, I have a bunch of different things up, so I'm going to do a couple demos for you. I'm going to start with file new 1. I'm going to do symbolism. I'm going to just put SYM1. All right, and I'm changing my width to 15, my height to 10. Going to hit create. All right, and then I'm going to find my first 2 pictures that I'm going to work with. This is my first one. I hit Control A, Control C, Control V. Okay, and then I'm going to once again get rid of this. Then I need to find my other picture of myself that I was using. Where did it go? Hopefully I did not get rid of it. No, I might have closed it. But there was another image that I used basically when I did this the first time where I overlapped myself onto here. So we're actually going to get rid of this layer in just a second. I'm going to start with this one, Control A, and I'm going to make a new file real quick for you. So with this one, I overlaid myself with like rainbows and things like that to show the differences in there. So let me go back, file new. I'm going to change the size this time because it has to be a width and the height has to be taller. So here we go. All right, Control A, Control C. Remember apple cider vinegar. V onto here, and then I'm going to get this one, A, C, and V. Okay, and then I'm going to get rid of this. Now, what I did before for the example that you guys see on Classroom is I made a gradient for the background, and I looked at the colors that I had, basically, and I'm going to rearrange everything in just a second, too. So I'm going to go to this gradient tool, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on this to change my color to kind of get like a more of a moody pink, and I like this pink here, too. So then I'm going to make sure I've clicked on here, do my gradient by dragging it. I'm holding and then I let go, and then you can see my layers underneath. Now I'm going to hit Control Shift T to resize. Now I might have to adjust and zoom out a little bit to work with what I've got. I'm trying to fit myself onto the page, reason being, and you'll see in a second, because I want the flowers to come through. Okay. So I'm going to actually start by bringing the flowers on top. This is one way you can go about this. And then you can use your quick selection tool. Okay, so I hit on my quick selection tool, and I'm going to make it a little bigger because I can't see it. I'm going to select not everything. I'm going to get rid of the stuff in the center. Okay, so now you can see that the only thing selected are the flowers. I'm going to hit refine edge and double check it. Make sure I have it under raster mask. This is really important right here. The raster mask, it has to be like that. Okay, hit okay. And then it's going to mask it to the layer below, which is what I want to see. I know it looks a little funky right now, but what I can do is I can hit Control Shift T. I can, resize it. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. I can adjust it. I like it like that. I hit Enter. Okay. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go over to my arrow and I'm going to come to my eraser. Now, my eraser, the hardness is 0, which I want to leave it for other things like that. So I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to come in, zoom out just a little bit, make my eraser just a bit bigger. And make sure you're on the right layer. You want to make sure, if you have to erase things, make sure you're all physically clicked on the picture. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to erase the little extra pieces that I don't really need anymore that kind of got pulled in. Okay. Once I have that, then I can start playing around with my darkening. I can play around with multiply. And then I start to drag this layer up. Once I have that up, I can also change my opacity, and I kind of want to keep it, pretty solid for right now. And I'm going to change my opacity here. I want this to be coming through. And I also want to adjust, and I did it again, like I said before, Control Shift T. I'm going to pull this down. It's going to elongate my face a little bit, but that's fine. Okay. And I want to play around with these different burns to see what I can get. Maybe play around with that a little bit. Change the size, like lightening, overlay. Do I like the way the flowers look here? Do I want to play around with putting the gradient physically above this and see what happens there? Does that make a difference in how my layers look? You want to play around with what you want to get essentially. Do I like the hard mix? Do I like the hard light? Do I like to multiply it? Okay, and then once you have what you want, I think I liked lighten before, and then this was much more prominent. Okay, I can also, if you want to, you can also bring this above this, bring this to the bottom layer, and then instead of having this be completely empty, okay, you can come in and make your layer 2 a little bit more opaque. Holding the Shift key, not paying attention there. I could change that a little bit more, my opacity, so the pink's coming through and it's very prominent in the way that, I don't know why everything is clicking. I'm sorry. I don't know. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I could even change the opacity here if I really want things to come through a little bit more. All right. Once I'm done, remember you can hit File, Save as PSD. Now, I would also export it as a JPEG just because I know we're going to try and get some work on the morning announcements. So I would save it as both so I can put it into a little iMovie for you. Okay. So I'm done with that one. I'm going to exit out. Don't need those flowers anymore. I don't need that anymore. Anything you're done with, at any point, then you can X out. Then I'm going to show you this cool sunflower one that I have, this idea. I just got to clean up my workspace a little bit. No worries. Okay. File new. I'm going to make symbol number 2, and I'm going to keep the same size as 15. Okay. So I'm going to have 3 layers on this one. Now I'm going to do Control A, Control C, Control V, A, C, V, A, C, V. Okay, so once again, always my apple cider vinegar. Now this one I'm going to make a little bit more interesting. So I bring this, I want this as my base layer. This is basically the order I want them in. I came up with this idea a little bit earlier. I'm going to bring this on top for a reason. Command Shift T. And the reason why is I came up with this cool idea of putting the sunflowers in my sunglasses. Okay, and then I actually rotated it because of the angle and being able to fit it in there. And make it a little smaller. Make sure it fits properly. Hit Enter. Okay, and then I will duplicate that eventually. I'm just not doing it right this second. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to come back to this quick selection tool. Okay, clicking on my quick selection tool, I'm going to click on myself, and I'm actually going to minimize this so I don't have to see it. Click on myself right now, and what I want to do is I'm going to go over to the minus and get rid of anything on the side that I don't need. Okay, and you can always hit refine edge along the way if you feel like you need to check things. So I want my arm, and you may have to change the size. Remember that you can use the little brackets on your keyboard. Okay, hit the minus because I want to, or plus, sorry, because I want to include that plus with my hair. And I can go in and edit this in a little bit, not a big deal. Okay, and you might have to zoom in to check your areas. Don't forget that spot. All right, I think I have everything I want. Gonna hit refine edge. It'll also help me check it. I have everything on this side, and good thing is I can get rid of some of this extra stuff. So I hit OK, and voila, because I refined the edge, it masked it to this layer below, so my clouds start to come through, and that's really what I want to see. Now I'm going to click on this right here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start erasing some of these spaces. Now, this is where you really need to make sure your hardness is at 0 because you don't want harsh lines. So I'm going to come in with the eraser. Okay, I'm going to erase anything else I don't want because now that the layer is masked below, it's going to help that. Okay, so using that, like I know I'm just going to take out some of my little flyaways. It's not a big deal. Kind of connect that there. All right, have what I want. So these 2 layers are working the way I want them in the meantime. Now I want to mask this to the layer below it. So what I have to do here, basically, and you're putting it, like I'm trying to put it in the circle. So I'm going to, you can either hit this mask button and once we start doing what we're doing, I'm going to go back real quick, it'll mask it. Or when you drag this below, right? So I'm saying I'm dragging it below right now. Another option you can do is going to the quick selection tool and I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And then I'm clicking this, but look, it highlighted stuff I didn't want. So I'm going to come back in, making sure I'm only on quick selection. Maybe make my thing a little smaller. And then you want to make sure that you're not getting rid of stuff that you don't want, like I said. So if that's the case here, oh, you know what? Pay attention to that. I was on layer 1. I'm going to hit Command D real quick. Make sure I'm on layer 2. Double check that always. Because look, so much easier right now. I click on that and my entire sunglass is filled in. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I try to get this piece in. I don't know that it'll let me. Nope. All right, so we're going to leave it like that. I hit delete. The sunflower starts to come through. Now I'm going to hit Command D. I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm going to come in with the eraser. Now I want to make sure, like I said before, is that the hardness is not anywhere near being 100 because you don't want it to have like this rough look. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Okay, I'm going to make sure I start erasing on here. Okay, and voila. I have that going for me right now. I may change my hardness for this piece and then I'll show you another thing that you can do too. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, come in and edit. Okay, and while you're working, you guys can pull this up side by side to hopefully help you. Okay, so I have that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to bring it on top for a minute. Okay, and as you can see, everything is still there. We'll get to that. Okay, there's another like thing I'll show you with it that we're going to use. But what I want to do, okay, is I want to show you how I want to make this kind of stand out. Do I want to darken it? Do I want to color burn it? Do I want to linear burn? Like I kind of like how that makes me look really dreamy. But the one thing you do notice, right, is that look at it, you can still see parts of the sunflower. So what happens there? What I did, and this is where I do change my hardness back to 0. I come in with that eraser, making it a little bigger right now, and making sure I'm on layer 1. I'm going to erase the extra stuff I don't need. Okay? And this is going to happen if you really want any kind of overlay. Okay? So I'm making sure I'm making it nice and neat. I don't want to come inside of the sunglass. And I'm going to talk about like how to make it stand out on its own too afterwards. All right, so I have that. Perfect. Now you can go up to layer, duplicate layer if you want to use what you have like 2 things of. Move this guy over. Oh, not my person. I want to move my sunflower. I might have to put it on top real quick for a second to make sure. And sometimes you're going to have to do that because the layers are super sensitive. So bring this in, maybe do a Command-Shift-T, rotate it a little bit till I get it where I want it to be. I like right here. Maybe increase the size. Okay, hit enter. Now bring it back down. And I haven't done this yet with this one. I haven't gone through with being on this layer. What you got to do next is, using your quick selection tool, clicking the inside, hitting delete, and look, there it appears again. The only thing is now you have to hit Control D, go to your layer, go back to eraser. I know it's a lot of like going back and forth work, but the end result is typically pretty beautiful. And it's something really cool to work with, and that's why I love doing these creative things. When I was in college, I had a show, like my senior thesis show, that was like based upon things that I did in Photoshop that were similar to this. And it's a lot of fun to play around with. So once you have what you want, you can zoom out. Now, I want to change my copy on here to something else. What do I want it to be? Do I want it to color dodge, like where it's really coming through? Hard light, where it's kind of lighter. I like that a little bit, so maybe I'll play around, do hard light here as well. And then you pick what you want there. And then I have all these layers coming through, and you created this like, beautiful, really interesting masterpiece. This kind of makes me look like I have gritty eyes, I'm not gonna lie. Once I have that, I'm going to hit file save as PSD one more time. Just to have the file, just to be safe, so you can always come back in Photoshop and work with it more. Hit file save and voila, you're done. Okay, so remember, coming back to my page here for selfies. All right, if you have questions with it, let me know. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for you. All right, guys. Thank you and bye.